Hi, what's up you guys? How's it going? It's Papa, and today I got you guys another LIGHTSWORN list. I know I've already brought you like 2 now, and this is the 3rd in like the last couple weeks, but this is a different take on LIGHTSWORN. I got a lot of the inspiration from Joshua Schmidt, just like everyone else that has been playing this build, but this is LIGHTSWORN Runick. As you know, longtime watchers of the channel have noticed that I am a big fan of Runic cards, and of course I am very huge on LIGHTSWORN as well, so being able to play them both in the same deck is basically my bag, baby.
Yeah, baby!
I have so many different builds of LIGHTSWORN. We have the LIGHTSWORN Runick, we have LIGHTSWORN Orcus, we have pure LIGHTSWORN, we have 60 card LIGHTSWORN, whatever you may name it, whatever kind of style of LIGHTSWORN there is, I will probably play it at some point. But the deck is definitely a lot of fun. I definitely suggest that you give the Runic version a try. I will say this before we start, that I am playing a few different tech options. Like for one, before we get into the list, I am not playing Solar Recharge in this list because I don't think it is necessary.
Is it necessary for me to drink my own urine?
Another thing too is that I noticed that a lot of you guys aren't subscribed, so if you're not subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because if you subscribe now, it lets me know that I'm doing something right. But yeah guys, without further ado, we're going to take a look at my build for LIGHTSWORN Runick. It is a 40 card main deck, of course. Starting off with the main deck, I mean, I've talked about these cards quite a few times now, so we are on 3 copies of Weiss, and then we are on 3 copies of Dragonling, and then I am only on 2 copies of Elise for this list, but we are still playing the 3 copies of Wolf. Let me put it right here. Yeah, 3 copies of Wolf, 1 copy of Raiden, and 1 Lumina, and then as well we are still playing the 3 copies of Charge of Light Brigade. So with this build, we don't need Garoth because we are on 40 cards. We are not trying to mill out the entire deck to see everything in the deck, if I may be honest, so you will lose the deck out if you are playing Garoth in this build. What I like about Lumina in this list is that you don't have any real normal summons, so being able to play extra names such as Raiden, such as Lumina is very strong. And then of course, if you do have both of these cards in the graveyard, you can always send the Weiss off of the Minerva, or if you mill it off a charge, whatever it may be, to go ahead and summon one of them back. It is a very small LIGHTSWORN component. I mean, I am opting for 2 copies of Felice as well, mainly because since we are not playing Solar Recharge in this list, and we are banking on cards like Charge of the Light Brigade, I felt like you don't really need to play 3 of this, and I know you can make the argument that if you draw this with Weiss, it is strong, but also if you draw this with no ways of getting it out of your hand, it is not strong. So I definitely wanted to just optimize the 2 copies of Felice, because we are also playing Raiden, which is also just an extra tuner, and then everyone who doesn't know, Weiss is also a tuner as well. So you definitely don't want to load up with too many tuners, especially because you have ways of getting them back, so it is what it is there. So that's it for the lineup. Moving on to the Runic engine, we are on the 1 copy of Smiting Storm, 1 copy of Dispelling. Dispelling is actually very strong when you're playing it against decks like Snake Eyes, when you're playing it against Voiceless Voice, whatever it may be, just basically anything that adds a card from their deck to their hand. The effect does come up a lot. You always end up recycling this card off of your fountain, mainly because you're trying to see as many different Runic names in your hand as possible, whether it's turn 1, whether it's on follow-up, whether it's during your opponent's turn, whatever it may be. You always want to make sure you have at least 3 to 4 Runics with a fountain live. So and if you have more, it's even better. So we definitely have to play the extra names. I'm not playing Golden Droplet. I don't think Golden Droplet is necessary because we're not necessarily trying to win by deck out. I mean, don't get me wrong, winning by deck out is nice, but that is not the name of the game. And then of course for the standard lineup, we are on 3 copies of Flashing Fire, 3 copies of Freezing Curses, 3 copies of Slumber, 3 copies of Destruction, 3 Just the Tip, and of course we are on the 2 copies of Fountain because we can only play 2. So that is it for the Runic lineup. Again, Golden Droplet, don't really see it's necessary, and if you're playing Runic Allure, I pray for you every night before I go to bed. And now, since I am not playing Solar Recharge in the deck, I am opting just to play some extra non-engine, because I felt like this deck's main struggle when I was playing it was that I was not drawing any form of non-engine. Basically, if I got hand trapped, basically if I was discarding a card off of Recharge and not getting into it, or getting hand trapped by it, whatever it may be, I was basically losing the game. So I opted to play some non-engine. Of course, we are on 3 copies of Triple Tactic Talents because it is just so good. Whenever just like your card gets ashed, it is just free bait to go ahead and bait cards like Nibiru, bait Effect Veiler, whatever it may be. It could even be an ash, whatever it is. But Talents is just really good. This card is also very strong for going second as well. And since you are basically thinning out your deck a lot, I feel like playing 3 is necessary because there's no way you just won't see this card. And then we are on 1 copy of Called by the Grave just to help with a bit of the struggles that the deck has. And then we are on 1 copy of the Black Goat left as well. I kind of want to play 2 of this, don't get me wrong. I know Joshua's list plays 2. I am opting for 1 right now just because I'm still toying with ratios, but I also wanted to keep the deck at 40 as well. But I was opting to keep the deck at 40, so I just opted to play the 1 Black Goat. If you wanted to play 41, you totally can. It's all just up to preference. But if you were going to play 41, I would suggest playing a 2nd copy of the Black Goat lefts. That is going to round off the main deck. Of course, the main deck is 40 cards, no more, no less. I'm not playing any hand traps. I'm not playing droplets. I'm not playing any of that stuff. I just feel like the Runic engine basically acts as all those kinds of forms of interruption, and they also just help you break boards. So even going 2nd helps out a lot. So 40 card main deck. For the extra deck, it's probably the most tricky thing to build because the extra deck is super tight, just like your mom.
Good one. Yep. That's a good one.
We are on 2 copies of Hugin, the Runic Wings. Card's very strong. And then as well as 2 copies of Gary. This is probably the most generic lineup if you're going to be playing the Runic Lightsworn build. I've seen this in every list that I've looked at, but 2 and 2 split is very good, and you can always recycle the other off of Dagesto Emerald if you need to. We are on 1 copy of Coral Dragon. I can't wait for this to get a rarity upgrade. Rarity 2 is not a bad set. 1 copy of Tri-Edge Master. Card is also very strong. I've seen people play this. I've seen people not play it. It's up to preference. I completely get why you wouldn't want to play it, but we also like drawing cards, so I definitely feel like this card is necessary.
Necessary?
I am on 1 copy of F.A. Don Dragster. This is probably the flex spot. I'm only playing this because we are playing the Lumina in the main deck. If you wouldn't play Lumina, then you could argue cutting this and playing like a Dissipator instead. I'm not playing Dissipator in this list mainly because if you do get interrupted, then odds are you're probably not going to end on Dissipator in your turn 1. So basically, if your opponent has like a Nibiru, if they have any kind of hand trap, then odds are you're probably not going to end on the Dissipator Omega Lock. So I just felt like having the extra effect negation is very strong. And it also helps against like cards like Cosmic Cyclone. It helps against Evenly Match, whatever it may be, but the card is really good. We also play Cypher Lord Omega just because it's just so good. 1 copy of Minerva, of course. And then we're on 1 Chaos Angel. This is my replacement as well for the Dissipator if you didn't want to play it. I felt Chaos Angel was very strong, and then also if you make Chaos Angel, then it will protect your Minerva from resolving every single time. So I definitely felt like it was needed in some way, shape, or form. And the big boss of the Synchro lineup is definitely Changying. Changying is very strong in any Runic deck, so you definitely have to play it. And then only a few other cards in the extra deck. We played Dagesto Emerald, and then we're also on Baguska in case we get shifted. So ending on this, hoping for the best, and then that's just how Lightsworn works, baby. And then we are on 1 copy of the Xyz Minerva, and of course we are on 1 Little Knight to round off the extra deck. I'm gonna briefly go over my side deck because of course side decks are basically like assholes. Everyone has one.
What did he say?
And then basically this side deck was just geared towards my locals for what we have. We have a lot of trap decks at my locals, and then we also have just a lot of annoying stuff. So this is basically how I build the deck. We play 1 Mithra for basically your game 3s, and then we are on 3 copies of Denko Sekka, just because again this deck doesn't really have a normal summon other than the Lumina, other than the Raiden, but of course you don't have to use those as your normal summons because you have Whites to grant you access as well if they were to be sent to the graveyard. But 3 Denko is very strong. And then we are also on 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. This is just really strong for when you are forced to go 2nd. And then we are on 2 copies of Lightning Storm just for extra forms of removal. The 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, double copies of Dimensional Barrier, and then we are on 3 copies of Evenly Matched as well. So that's going to go ahead and do it for the list, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this list. I don't think there's really too much reason to go over the side deck, again, because it is just based off of wherever you are playing at. And I felt like this was probably just the most safest route for me to take. But it is also just the first take that I have with Runic Lightsworn. I'm still testing it. I really do like this build, though, because I think just being able to mill a bunch of cards and milling 3 Runic names off of Charge of the Light Brigade is also really cool. Basically making it to where you can go ahead and resolve Fountain for 3 almost every single time is just so nice. But yeah, guys, I think that's really about it. If you have anything that you want to add to the deck, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know if you've given this deck a try because I'm really curious. But other than that, that has been it. I will catch you guys in the next video, and until next time, take care.